morning.
Morning.
I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Committee of the Whole for September. Ms. Leventis Wells will not be with us today, unfortunately. She is under the weather, so I'll be covering for her today. The first item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent calendar? Hearing none, all in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent calendar stands approved. We're going to move on to instruction today, and this we're going to move on to instruction, and that's going to be led by Ms. Debbie Bush. So, Ms. Bush, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The first thing this morning is our public comments. And before we have public comment, I would like to invite those of you that have signed up to speak before the Board of Trustees. Thank you for your interest in Greenville County Schools. Before we begin, let me remind you of the following procedures. As each speaker's name is called, he or she would proceed to the podium at the end of the board's desk where there's a microphone and a light system. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes to speak to the board. The light system will be green for the first 2 minutes and will turn yellow when 1 minute remains on the speaker's allotted time. In keeping with Board Policy KCA, abusive language or personal attacks aimed at students or staff members will not be permitted. All speakers are expected to behave in an orderly and respectful manner. The board will not engage in discussion with the speaker or respond to comments. The superintendent will designate a member of the staff to respond to each speaker in an appropriate and timely manner. Thank you very much. And our speaker that we have this morning is Erica McCleskey. And Ms. McCleskey, I understand you have a special invitation for the board.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I appreciate it. And also thank you for providing this opportunity for parents and community members to come and speak to you. I am a parent of 3 children. I have a 7th grader at League Academy and 2 children at Summit Drive Elementary, a 1st grader and a 4th grader, and we enjoy walking and biking to school. I'm here today as a representative of Live Well Greenville, and thank you to Dr. Royster and Derek Lewis for serving on our advisory board, as well as Debbie Bush for being a founding member. I hope each of you have received a formal invitation to the Wellies. It is Live Well Greenville's 2nd annual recognition ceremony at Bon Secours Wellness Arena on Thursday, September 19th. We have a green carpet entrance instead of a red carpet entrance at 10:30, and showtime starts promptly at 11 a.m. At the Wellies, we recognize over 80 partners across Greenville County that have adopted healthy eating and active living policy, systems, and environments to support making the healthy choice the easy choice, where we live, learn, work, play, and pray. So this year, we are recognizing 28 Greenville County schools, both elementary, middle, and high school. So we are thrilled to do that, as well as we are recognizing Greenville County Schools Child Development Department because they have participated in the Live Well at Work initiative. Each of our initiatives are in partnership with either larger organizations on a statewide or national level to enhance Live Well's capacity. So that way also our partners can be recognized on a local level, a state level, and hopefully then a national level. I serve as a member of the Coordinated School Health Advisory Council with Debbie Bush and Ms. Cristobal O'Connor. We selected to partner with the Alliance for a Healthier Generation to allow our schools to go through an online platform to assess themselves, set goals, and then to also answer questions that help them meet those goals. And in partnership with Food and Nutrition Services, we have been able to answer half of the questions, and then each local unit is able to answer the remaining questions that is appropriate for each school's culture and their community. So I just wanted to make certain that each of you knew about the Wellies. Again, it is on Thursday, September 18th. Doors open at 10:30. Showtime is 11. And we have also lunch being served at 11:45. So thank you very much for your time.
And I would like to also extend a personal invitation to everyone. This has grown every year, thanks greatly in part to the leadership team and especially Miss McCluskey. So if you don't already have it on there, put that on your calendars. Thank you very much. And
Ms. Bush, was that Wednesday the 18th or Thursday the 19th?
Thursday, September
19th.
Okay. All right, and the first item on our agenda is the extended day programs.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Before we begin that presentation, as you might have already noticed, because there's some extra folks in the room and the sound is a little different, we have changed out the sound system. Now, while your user end of that should appear no differently, your microphone, you push the button, you get a green light, you know you're on, you're live. They'll be working to adjust that throughout the morning. Although they've gone through it, they've tried it out, they've had people sit at every location in the room, there's still nothing like the dynamics of the meeting to make sure that it works correctly. So you may notice them making some adjustments and changes as we go through this morning. So please excuse that. We believe at the end of the day we'll have a much better system, and that system, if I recall, was the one that was in here when we moved back. So the system's well over 12 years old. Not sure exactly how old it was. So hopefully we'll end up with a much better sound and a much more consistent system. And as you know, we've had some issues particularly over the last year or so, with it cutting in and out and not working as it was designed to work. So if you'll bear with us this morning. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. McCoy and Dr. McDavid to come up and share with us about our extended day programs. You all will recall there was an audit of extended day programs that was completed last year, in the spring of last year. And at that time, we talked about the programmatic side of those extended day programs and said to you that we would bring forward a report presentation on that so that we could all better understand the programs that are offered, the construct of those programs, and how we ensure the consistency of quality of those programs throughout the district. So at this time, I'd like to ask Mr. McCoy if he has any opening comments, or we may move directly to Dr. McDavid to speak to the program itself.
Yeah, I would just like to thank both Dr. McDavid and Ms. Dean for all their hard work in not only overseeing the programs, but also gathering this information, particularly for you. So we are excited to share the EDP information with you, and I'll turn it over to Dr. McDavid.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. And today joining me is Mrs. Tara Dean. Last year, in June of 2018, we were able to bring on board Mrs. Tara Dean. She is a district administrator with 15 years of experience as a district administrator who's come to work with us. One of her original duties was the extended day program, providing support to the schools and oversight. Although she did serve in a different capacity last year, she continued to work with the extended day programs throughout the year, so she is facilitating and helping with this presentation on behalf of Mr. McCoy and myself today. We always like to begin with where this fits in to our Blueprint 2023 and our strategic plan. We want you to know that extended day programs has not just one function, but two. Yes, our district performance goal of student success is supported through our extended day programs. We also want to note, in addition to that, it provides a caring culture and environment for all students who participate. Our extended day program is about providing support for the whole child. In addition to homework and academics, our students in academic programs after school participate in activities that help them to be more well-rounded, have physical activity outside of the classroom and recess and before they go home, which is very important. It has activities that allows them to tap into their special interests and to connect and build relationships with others outside of their classrooms. The extended day atmosphere in the after-school programs is one that students enjoy being a part of, and you will see throughout this presentation why our programs have continued to grow. So again, the two things we offer in extended day programs are supports for student success and a caring culture and environment. Our extended day programs, by definition, an extended day program is an after-school program that's hosted at a Greenville County school for that school's students. These programs operate a maximum of 3.5 hours. You see the times for elementary will be between 2:30 and 6, and for middle school between 3:45 and 6 or 6:45 each day. And these programs are run by Greenville County Schools employees. Weekly rates are set by the school district and collected by the school to be deposited into that school's after-school program account. Employees of the programs include our certified teachers who are paid at rates set by the district for that after-school account. To apply for a program, schools in Greenville County submit an application to academics and receive approval from Mr. McCoy and our team with regard to what they want to do in the extended day program. We have minimal requirements that all programs must meet. A history of the extended day programs. Prior to 2005, many schools used extended day providers for after-school care. In 2005, after the initiation of magnet school programs, Stone Academy was the very first school to offer extended day programming as a support for those magnet school students and parents. Within 2 years, there were 41 extended day programs across our district. Today, there are 51 programs, including 42 elementary and 9 middle schools. Last year alone, our extended day program served almost 4,800 students in Greenville County. To the right of the presentation, you will see the list in 2 columns of the extended day programs offered throughout Greenville County schools. You see that covers a broad range of our geographic area, our student economic backgrounds, and it covers both middle and high school. So we have a wide range of opportunities for our students. The academics team felt that it was important to note, as we made the distinction, that our extended day programs offer more of the whole child supports with interest in physical activities as well as homework support, that across Greenville County schools, 74% of all elementary, middle, and high schools offer free out-of-school time opportunities for students. That is to say, our extended day programs are school operated and directed. The families pay a fee. There are enrichment activities, very specialized to the schools. We surveyed our schools to be sure because they're changing and they're improving their programs all the time through partnerships with communities. But in our extended day programs, they use the funding to offer enrichment activities. In our free GCS out of school time opportunities, you will see there are a number of different ways our schools support students academically and through the arts. You're all aware of ARMS, the Arts Reaching Middle and Elementary Schools. Those programs have been available and are expanding. In our Title I programs, 12 schools offer after-school programs and before-school programs in which we're funding additional supports for the teachers to support our students. 4 schools in Greenville County have after-school programs that are funded by private donors. Most recently, the Office of School Transformation funded programs in our high schools and our middle schools and elementary schools that are before and after school, as well as credit and content recovery. Many of our high schools were able to do this for the first time in a way that supported teachers being paid to provide the supports for our students and to have the software. So those are in place, and that adds to that 74% of all of our schools. Communities and schools, through the partnerships that we're very proud to continue, has after-school programs in 4 of our schools. Still yet, 8 schools in Greenville County have local funded extra opportunities for students. That is, the schools use their funds, their local funds, to provide before and after schools. 12 schools use their flex funding that's been provided by the district to do that. And then 22 schools use volunteers that they've been able to resource to come in and work with students, again, before and after school, out of school time, to provide the academic support and continuation by certified teachers, by volunteer staff, and in a directed way that aligns to what's happening in our schools. That is important to note, because while our extended day programs do offer academic support, there is a fee. In 74% of our schools, there are free opportunities offering academic support for which the fee would not be a barrier to the students. And our schools have been very resourceful, working with their assistant superintendents to identify focus areas of reading and mathematics, credit recovery, and designing opportunities both before and after school to support that academic need that our students have, again, with finance not being a barrier. We have other parent pay opportunity. One that we could find was at YMCA on site at Sarah Collins Elementary School. Outside of that, the others are extended day paid programs. So those are the 3 programs in our schools.
When setting our fees, one thing that we look at, or finance looks at, is what are other after-school programs charging in the area. So we've just listed here just a few programs around the area and what they charge per week for after-school care. And you can see through that it ranges from $79 to $57, $50, and our after-school charge is $46 a week, which is a week of 15 hours, 3 hours a day. So finance sets a fee schedule based on if a family has more than one child in the after-school program at a school, they get a discounted rate, as you see there. Some of our parents just choose half weeks, which would be 2 or less days, or they just want 1 day a week care, and you see we prorate that. We did have a price increase this year. We went from 45 to 46. Part of that is because anytime we give our district staff a raise, EDP workers also are a part of Greenville County Schools employees, so they also got that raise as well, so that to offset that. We have a one-time non-refundable registration per family each year, and this has helped us prepare for the next year and know how many students and so we know how many employees we need to hire. This fee also goes to cover, because many of our staff go through training, participate in professional development, have to go to first aid, CPR training, and help pay for them attending that training in the summer. Many of our schools now are able to accept online fee payments through My School Bucks. Program components. Dr. McDavid has alluded that the program in Greenville County Schools is looking at the whole child and supporting their social, emotional health, as well as development of life skills. We do provide homework assistance and tutoring. That's in most of our schools. That's the first thing that they make sure is taken care of, because they have heard from their parents that when they pick up their child, they want to make sure homework is done. We provide a healthy snack. Many of our schools use our fans department to provide that healthy snacks. Others go outside of that and purchase outside of fans. All of our components have a physical activity. It's either inside in the gym or outside on the playground. Some of that is not organized, but unorganized play, which is very important for students. And also use the CATCH curriculum in many of our elementary schools. We've tried to make sure that all of our components have a literacy support and have access to the media center, because we feel like this is so important. So all of our programs have either independent reading time or they have read alouds, depending upon the age of the child. As we've said, they offer many enrichment programs, and that depends on the school and the interests of the students and the parents. Lots of science, technology, engineering, and arts going on. Zumba and dance lessons going on. We have karate, chess, robotics, drama, and many more, depending upon the need and the desire of that community. We have lots of community partners that come in to help our schools, that help reduce, that can keep the costs down. Live Well Greenville is one of our great partners. Swamp Rabbit comes in, Prisma Health with Girls on the Run, and many of our local universities provide students that come in and volunteer and tutor our students in our EDP programs. Our staffing, as you see, the Greenville County sets the rates, and staff for EDP go through the normal human resource process. The position is posted. Interviews take place, background checks, TV tests, everything that any Greenville County employee goes through in order to be EDP. You have to do those same processes. They go through an orientation. We do recommend ratios. In 4K through second grade, we recommend 15 to 1, in 3 through 5, 20 to 1, and 6 through 8, 25 to 1. All EDP programs must have a director and a designated bookkeeper that is trained through our finance department. We do require that each of our schools have employees in the EDP program that have CPR, AED, and first aid certified training, because we want to make sure we're providing a safe environment for our students. All staff goes through an annual training, and all directors go through an orientation at the beginning of each year.
As an employee of Greenville County Schools and a parent of a student in an extended day program, I know full well that the principals work to provide this safe and caring environment. That is the primary reason they do it. Parents have asked in schools that have not had programs, can we begin one? And so we see schools like Fisher Middle School and Grove looking to add programs so that it's a support to our parents. This safe environment ensures that I continue to work throughout the day, and my son is taken care of at his school by those people who love and nurture him during the day. I feel safe that he's not transported to a different site, and he's getting, again, all the supports that he has during the day. Another benefit of having an extended day program is that our schools get to use the net revenue for instruction. And I say that because schools often look at needs and try to find creative ways of funding programs and supports for teachers, for students, for staff. And having extended day revenue is a source of funding and support. Over the past 5 years, you see the revenue amounts. In 2015, we have with us today also helping to support us is, of course, you see Robin Stack from the finance office and Therese McSherry. They provided us the research on this over the past 5 years. And when you look at the net revenue from the 5 years, there are so many variables. The number one variable is enrollment. If a school has an enrollment number that is very minimal, that of course impacts the amount of revenue, net revenue they are able to produce. The number of programs our schools are able to offer, the staffing model, whether they're using their teachers or aides, if they have those student volunteers from the local university who are more than qualified to provide tutoring services, that may reduce some of the staff they are required to have to meet our students' needs in terms of tutoring. Capacity within our schools, some would probably be able to extend even further. However, we want our students to have safe places, such as the cafeteria and the gymnasium. So some schools have limited capacity, and they're not able to extend any further what they already have. Programming and enrichment, in order to boost that participation, having programs such as robotics, karate, Zumba, the things that the students are very excited about and want to be engaged in. Our schools use their revenues funds to also support programming and enrichment in some cases. Again, I mentioned volunteers. And then another variable are other programs or activities in the area. For some of our schools, they have the only after-school program that's accessible to parents. For others, there are others competing for our students to come and work in their program. So there are some of the variables. You will see that in 2015, there were 41 EDP sites, and combined, you see that the net revenue was $2.5 million. And then as we've extended up to 49 sites at the end of 2019, this summer, they projected a net revenue of $2.9 million. So these schools are using the funds to provide resources to the students and teachers. And again, that's what it's really all about, the instructional use. For example, in talking with the schools and asking them, what do you use the money for? Additional academic support during the regular school day. They're not able to hire personnel, but they're able to contract for hourly instruction and tutoring during enrichment, to have hourly employees to come in and support where they're not, in some cases, not able to have a full-time interventionist. They also have funding to support their signature programs, such as at Taylor's Elementary, Leader in Me, Capturing Kids' Hearts. Engineering at A.J. Wittenberg, a lot of the resources are provided through their EDP funds. Project-based learning at some of the other schools, they are able to use those funds to support and push it right back into the students. And that's a caveat of the funds, that they're used for instruction. Student supplies, classroom libraries. It was great being out at Buena Vista, in which he had purchased classroom libraries for all of the school's students from the Fountas and Pinnell, which is our academics program. Working very closely with them, they are able to ask and ascertain what types of programs they can use to support. They are also able to use their online programs, IXL Math, their enrichment programs, through this revenue stream. Additional teacher supplies and enhanced classroom environment, and also technology. The list really goes on, but those school-wide instructional initiatives almost always involve literacy and math support. There's some cases, most cases, they're able to also provide field trip support, either through scholarship, or they pay for a portion of the larger field trip through the extended day revenue funds to reduce the overall cost for all students. So this gives the schools some instructional use funds that they can support all students through.
As in all programs in Greenville County Schools, there is a monitoring aspect to this. So obviously in any program in a school, the principal provides the program direction, leadership, and supervises the staff. There is a site visit done by academics. There was one done each semester to each of the programs to look at capacity, to look at student interaction, to look at safety, to make sure all guidelines were being followed. Finance monitors monthly through a financial ledger that are submitted to the finance department. And then the internal auditors include extended day programs in their annual student activities funds audit.
And Tara Dean did go out to visit all of the sites twice last year, and that was deemed as a tremendous support. We heard from many of the principals to have someone to come out and offer advice on the academic programs, as well as support for what needed to happen to make program improvements. Are there any questions? Thank you. Ms. Goodwin-Caldwell.
Thank you for the report on the extended day, but I have a couple of questions. Is this report just for the fee-based extended day programs? Because I see some schools that are not on this report that have after-school programs.
Yes, ma'am. This report was for extended day programs, and that is why we actually conducted a survey to be sure that our schools had programs. We can provide a list for you of those who do not and what opportunities they have outside of the extended day fee-based programs, but this report itself is on only those that are the paid programs.
Okay, since these are the fee-based programs, how does that work with I see here's some Title I schools that are on here.
Yes, ma'am.
How does that work in the Title I schools with you having fee-based?
When you have a fee-based program, students, some of our Title I schools, for example, will have programs that are funded, and by Title I, and those programs may be on Tuesday and Thursday or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If a parent needs support outside of that, they are able to pay the fee and are able to pay the fee. The students can participate in extended day. And on those days where they have the after-school program, that is a Title I funded program, the students can go to that program for that amount of time. For usually the Title I programs are 1 to 2 hours after school. Transportation, often we have to provide in order to ensure we get the support of all of our students being there without depending on parents to pick them up. But funding 5 days a week through Title I would be cost prohibitive. So the schools that have a Title I program have a program going on that is free. That's 2 days a week with transportation. And our students who are able to do both, they can. However, the students who need childcare, the parents are able to do the fee-based. So they keep them separate, but there is some blending when it comes to the academic support.
Okay. I also, I guess I need for you to look this up because you said that, what school did you say was the first one?
Stone?
Was that for fee-based?
Yes, that was the first fee-based.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It was for fee-based?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Because I had a correction if it wasn't for fee-based. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also offer scholarships, by the way, within the program. We mentioned scholarships that through their revenue for students who are unable to afford it, schools sometimes are able to offer scholarships for students who need it.
Thank you.
Is Ms. Morrison Fair?
I have a question. You said that all programs, did you say were required to have a director and a bookkeeper, or they just have a director and a bookkeeper?
It is a requirement.
Okay, and for the non-fee base, is that also true?
The non-fee based, they're not required to have a director or bookkeeper. They have a lead. Sometimes it's the administrator of the school or the assistant administrator of the school. They're not collecting funds and those free out-of-school opportunities. So since they're not collecting funds, there is no need for a bookkeeper in those programs.
And on the fee-based, is that director certified? Does it matter?
It does not matter.
Okay.
With the program, the principal is ultimately the instructional leader of the program to set and design what will be happening. They provide oversight to the program. The director is involved in making sure that the payroll is, those people are there, that it's appropriately staffed, that the paperwork is taken care of, and responsible for communicating with Mrs. Dean and mostly the principal about any concerns or questions that may arise. But the director does not have to be a certified teacher. The director does participate in annual training to be certain that they're able to carry forth the duties of the director.
Ms. Wells?
Thank you. You mentioned briefly ARMS, that ARMS is expanding. So I haven't really paid much attention to ARMS recently in terms of our footprint and how many students we're reaching. So could you guys give me a brief synopsis? You're grinning really large.
Yeah,
We're
we're
excited
excited about it. And this is with communications with Bradley Wingate, who is our fine arts director. It has been at the Fine Arts Center, but they are going to expand to a couple of our elementary schools outside of Greenville County so that more students have the opportunity to participate in those programs. I do not think those schools have been identified, but that is to happen this year.
Okay. Outside of Greenville County,
The city.
Okay. Great. That is exciting. So requirements for workers, people that we hire, what does that job description look like? And then how do we evaluate performance?
Well, the job description obviously depends if it's the director, co-director, assistant director, or just simply the teacher or an assistant in the class. So that description is based on whatever the job is, similar to how we would write up a job description for a teacher or an assistant in our regular day programs. And they all, as I said, they have to go through background check. There is an orientation. They go through our district orientation, and they also go through a school orientation each year, and they are evaluated by the director and the principal of the school.
And so they high school diploma?
High school
required?
diploma, they could be a high school diploma. We do hire some high school students, but they are never alone with students. They would be like an assistant in the classroom.
Okay, and the training that we do, so I'm trying to imagine, we give somebody, it's a part-time job, right? So
Right.
you have somebody who's applied, has never worked with students, never worked in a teaching, training sort of environment. So what is, I know with CPR and all that, but what is the other specific training? And is that something that's standardized across the district, or are we leaving that up to the local principals to decide?
We do have a EDP administrator manual that outlines the duties of each position and also what should go into each year, the training of that staff. So we make sure that is covered. That's one of the reasons there's a monitoring visit that the district can check to see what was in the orientation, what training was provided, what additional training. You'll find out later. We also offer training to our staff in the summer academy to learn about best practices in EDP. So multiple opportunities for training.
Okay, and then the evaluation, you said that's done by the principal, but do we have a standard sort of rubric for either the employees and or the programs themselves, so that you're kind of comparing the programs to see how they're stacking up?
In the monitoring visit, there is a form that we use that when we go out, everybody's evaluated on that form. That form is gone over in our orientation. Obviously, anytime you're evaluated, you want to know. So that we go over that form, and those are the things that were checked on in first semester and second semester. And then the evaluations, they use the protocol that's in our district for any non-certified or certified staff.
Okay, so when you're thinking about evaluating the programs, I'm thinking back to all these opportunities that are offered that are free to the family. Are they similarly, is it the same sort of evaluation? I know on the finance side, that's a different thing because the funds are coming in different, but are we also evaluating all the opportunities that we're providing to be sure that they sort of meet a standard of quality?
Okay. So when we look at the programs that are offered outside, the ones that are free, depending on the funding source, there comes with that oftentimes some metrics that we need to meet. For example, our Title I funded programs, our Office of School Transformation funded programs, we wrote those strategies into a grant with specific goals and metrics. So our assistant superintendents, we look towards the outcomes, we look at our enrollment, we look at our services, and we give guidance on the academic tools that are used during the programs. For example, we were just at a meeting with a middle school that has an after-school program. We've introduced Carnegie as a math curriculum. It has a resource called Mathia. So Dr. McDonald and I talked about how we can use that program to align with what is happening during the day. So with those programs, we are looking at those instructional supports primarily from the vantage point of what was the intended goal of the program being set in place. As schools are funding programs locally, the principals are responsible for the oversight and evaluation of those programs. They're dedicating the local funds or committing the flex funds. And so the principal in doing so, or the administrative team with the assistant superintendents, they're doing so with the anticipation of an expected outcome. So the principals are providing the oversight and the outcomes for those locally funded and flex funded programs. Any volunteers that work in our buildings have to go through volunteer training, so those are vetted in that way. And our academics department offers training as requested. For example, we just did we're doing a series still with the United Way and other volunteers on how to teach math at the elementary levels. So we offer training, but the locally funded, the flex funded programs the oversight is provided by the principals. Those that are through grants, that oversight is provided by our Office of Federal Programs, and again, the assistant superintendents for outcomes and to make sure that they're implemented with fidelity.
And then what about the communities and schools?
The communities and schools, they have their metrics, and when they do their impact report, they outline what would be needed. They outline what would be needed in terms of their goals and outcomes, and so they're constantly measuring that also to make sure that they're aligned with fidelity.
Okay.
But the principal, if Communities in Schools is in a school after-school program, again, the principal does provide leadership and direction. If there are any challenges, they know to make their assistant superintendents aware to contact our district resources, who we're liaisons with Communities in Schools. But the oversight primarily lies with the principal in the out-of-school time opportunities and communities.
Okay, so I guess, Dr. Roster, remind me with the flex funds, what were the parameters that we set up when we allocated those funds? You know, the conversation was, rather than give an additional FTE for some specific classroom reduction, we were giving some funds that they could use. So remind me of what that looks like, because I was a little surprised that we were using flex funds for after school.
In summary, it has to be directly academically related. The one that immediately comes to mind, I believe, if I recall correctly, J.L. Mann operates an after-school tutorial program for students who score at the lowest level incoming on their standardized test score. Is that right, Mr. Reimer? And they use those funds to provide that opportunity for extra help for enrichment, including providing transportation home, which has really been a key component of the success of that program. So that would be one example. But they have to be directly instructionally related. And there's some that we would approve that they're kind of generally acknowledged these are instructional related expenditures. Anything outside that parameter has to first be approved by their assistant superintendent and then by the deputy superintendent.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of these opportunities are sort of limited in scope. They're not really offering
They're
extended
focused.
day comprehensive programs. Right. These are just very focused opportunities where a family may, for some period of time, may have an opportunity, and targeted families potentially may have an opportunity. Okay.
Absolutely. And in that, we just wanted to point out that our extended day, we're able to gain a number of students that are able to pay. But in others, when we're talking about focused academic support, we do need to have other supports that are free. And schools are designing those with their assistant superintendents as part of their annual plans and goals to meet the needs of students around targeted areas.
Okay. So with the amount of money that we're generating from these programs, the average of that for last year would be around 60,000. Is there a big range of what we see
Per school?
Per school?
Yes, there's a wide range.
And what do we attribute that to? I guess you kind of want to make sure that this is it's a different animal, right? It's not something that district's managing, which is why we've said you need a director and you need somebody to help you with the financial piece of it.
When we look at the range, it really does depend on enrollment. As you can imagine, a small school that has a Title I program a few days a week with the academic support, but they're hoping to add a program that provides support for parents, they may be at $2,000 at the end of the day. But what they were doing was to support students. In a larger school setting where their scale is higher, you think about paying a teacher. If you have $15 an hour, basically is what we're paying, what the student pays, $15 an hour. If we're paying a teacher more than $15 an hour, then the more students you have, the more scale you're able to really provide. And our schools are looking at their staffing models. They're trying to recruit with some of the programming and enrichment, which again, they're able to offer, but that range is quite wide.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for this and for coming back. Yeah, I know we did this a couple of years ago, and there's some really good information here. I do have a couple of questions. So we currently staff the extended day programs at a 1-to-15 ratio. Is that correct?
That is our recommendation for 4K through second grade, and then 3rd through 5th is a recommendation 20-to-1, and then 6 through 8 25-to-1. But the building level principal looks at the group and looks at the needs, but this is the recommendation that we make in our manual.
Is there a fluctuation in these recommendations based on the level of experience of the worker?
Yes. All those things are taken into account when putting the number of students in a classroom.
And if there's fluctuation, it goes lower and not higher.
So who provides that guidance? Because it seems, sometimes we talk about these programs being run by teachers, and then you go and visit a program and there's not a teacher on site. And so I think there is a perception that, well, if this person can manage a classroom of 22 students, then surely they can manage 20 after-school kids. But then you go to the after-school program and you realize it's not a teacher there. It's somebody different. So who can manage those fluctuations?
There is a lot of interaction between the director and the building level principal to help manage those situations. It's always because the building level principal is the supervisor of that program, but the Office of Academics does provide support and answer questions daily, weekly, and that's a part of that monitoring visit to see if there are issues with classroom management and the running of a classroom. Classrooms are visited during that monitoring, and feedback is given if it is felt that the classrooms need to be of a lesser ratio.
Great. So, and you may have heard that you guys may have said this earlier, just to make sure that I understand. So, if you come to this as an employee and you are a high school worker, or you have less than 5 years of experience and you're not a certified teacher, what sort of training are you required to have in order to work in these extended day programs?
That employee has to go through employee orientation at the district, as all of our employees. Then there is a required training at the school level to work with that employee on classroom management, planning lessons for the appropriate lessons for students based on what that teacher is going to be doing. And then, so there's orientation and training at the school level, plus there is district level training offered through Summer Academy in the summer.
Okay. I would just recommend, I know that school districts are exempt from DSS regulations for a lot of these things, but there are some pretty good guidelines around what types of trainings after school counselors should have. And if these people are not going to be certified teachers, then it probably would be a good idea for us to look at those guidelines. And I think things like being certified in first aid and CPR and bloodborne pathogens and kind of basic things that we would expect any caregiver who works with kids to have, it might be just a good idea to, even though we don't have to meet those requirements because we're exempt, to just maybe look at those. I think this is an excellent framework that you've set up here, but I would just
Want to strengthen that with some foundational knowledge that every person working with our schools would have. Well,
I think so,
thank you.
particularly since it's at the end of the day, and so, the idea that you're going to have a whole bunch of people who are going to be able to jump in and help if there's a choking incident, for example, isn't as great as it would be if you were in the cafeteria in the middle of the day. The only other question I have is just back to the fee-based schedule. So the last time we met and you guys presented, one of the things that I talked about was the weekly rates that we have set are less than what most of our competitors, because they are now our competitors, because you're pulling kids from these programs because you're charging a lesser rate. So what the district has set for an extended day weekly rate is less than what other providers. But when you look at the list that you guys provided, almost all of those are ABC voucher recipients also. And
yes.
So yes, the YMCA charges $57 a week, but if you look at their numbers, about half of their kids are on ABC vouchers, so they're getting at least $20 a week lopped off of their fees. And I know at the last time we made this presentation, I was told, and I understand it still to be true, that $46 a week is the rate, period, and that there is no fluctuation in the rate based on a family's ability to pay. Is that still correct?
That is correct. There's no sliding scale.
So, to me, I understand that part of the benefit of this program is to generate revenue that the schools can spend on services that they want to provide, and I think that's great. But when you look at the number of kids who aren't participating in this program, I know the last time we ran these numbers, we found that a large number of the kids who participated, in fact, most of the kids who participated, we, based on principal feedback, did not believe they were kids who were eligible for free and reduced meals. And so we have middle income, upper middle income kids who are opting for $46 a week, and our lower income kids who can't afford $46 a week are not getting the same services and are being sent to childcare providers and after-school providers that are then having to take money from DSS in order to subsidize their care. And it just seems like there is an opportunity here for us to take a leadership role in saying we want all of our kids to be welcome in these programs, not just the ones who can pay $46 a week. And so I would just recommend that as we look at revising our policies or as we look at updating what the mission of this work is, that we really look at perhaps including some sort of opportunities for the district to encourage schools to provide at least a percentage of these slots for kids who can't afford the full $46 a week. And if that provides discomfort, then perhaps the group we could target would be our teachers who work after 2:30, and this could provide at least an opportunity for us to benefit our staff by saying, okay, we recognize you have to stay till after 2:30. You shouldn't have to pay for childcare to stay and do lesson plans that you didn't have time to do during the day. Can we at least subsidize some of your costs as our employer, which is something that a lot of after-school programs are being encouraged to do, is to align their programs with employers that want their employees to stay longer during the day. So I think this is excellent. I think it's great to see it growing. To see that there's 4,800 students is really remarkable. And I can tell that even in the last 2 years, you guys have come a real long way, both in the work that you're doing in the centers, but also in educating other providers how to improve what they're doing. And so I appreciate it. I wish we could find a way to serve some families that maybe couldn't afford it. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Lewis, and we'll take that note under advisement. We do want to share that our schools in which our teachers, the staff members, have students who attend, the schools are able to, and it's in our handbook, the schools are able to offer reduced or support rates for teachers in their building. So we have been doing that across our programs, and it is a benefit to our teachers to have their students served during the day after school.
Make sure that I understand. The elementary schools are there from 2:30 to 6 o'clock.
Up to 6 o'clock. Many of them are able to have parents picked up by 5:30, but 2:30 to 5:30 would be their 3 hours, but they can go up to 3.5 hours. Yes, sir.
And the middle school is from 3:15 to 6.
Yes, depending on their dismissal time, 3:15 to 6, it would be that roundabout time.
Okay. Looking at the staffing as we had up there on that
Yes, sir.
particular calendar, we've got a worker, a director, and a teacher, and a bookkeeper. What does it mean here when we talk about the description? Less than 5 years experience?
If that employee only works in our EDP program, if they have less than 5 years working in EDP or in child care, in another child care facility, that's what that means. Or if they're one of our employees and they have worked in our district for 5 or more years, they would go up to that 5 or more years experience.
Will we ever classify a teacher as a worker?
If that teacher is working with 15 or 20, that teacher row is for when they are providing small group instruction, or tutoring is when we use that teacher rate.
Okay. So we got three types of workers. The first one is a high school student.
That's correct.
That talks them.
Right.
All right. The second is someone who is a worker, not certified teacher, but she has less than 5 years experience in EDP.
Or any other child care experience. We do look at other child care
So
experience.
if I work down in the community in a child care center,
that
then
is
if
taken
I
into
wanted to go from
consideration.
there to this one of these programs, I could do that as well.
We take that in consideration.
like that.
HR takes that into consideration.
All right. We're paying director 4 different salaries.
Depending upon years of experience and number of students in the program.
All right. And the qualifications for a director?
The qualifications of the director, I have not seen that job description, so I will need to get that to you, unless, Dr. McDavid, you have that.
Are they teachers? The directors, do you have to be a teacher to be a director?
You do not have to be a teacher in Greenville County School to be a director.
Do you have to be an employee of the school district of Greenville County?
No, you do not. But most of our directors, many of our directors are employees of Greenville County Schools. We have a few that are not, and those that were not have child care experience in other child care facilities.
Okay. So I have X number of workers at a site depending upon the number of students that I have. A director is whether how many students they've got at that particular site. If it's less than 85, they're paid one salary. If it's more than 85, they're paid another salary. And then, of course, they look at the experience on that. What would be the reason for an assistant director?
The number of students in the program. We have some programs that have almost 200 students in the program. And to assist with monitoring the classrooms, as well as having someone in the office to check students in and out with parents and deal with other issues that may come up and collect fees. That's why some schools choose to have an assistant director. That's not a requirement, but they have that as an option.
So an assistant director, they have to at least be a high school grad. And they got to have 5 years experience.
Correct.
As in the EDP field.
Correct.
Or they could be a certified teacher.
Yes, sir.
And if the second, I could be a high school grad, and I don't have to be a certified teacher. So I can make. I'm making more money as a high school grad with experience than I am a certified teacher. Is that?
Yes,
Am
yes,
I
sir.
turning that correctly?
Yes, sir.
When I look at the principal, we have a principal at each one of these 49 sites.
Yes, sir.
All right. Does the principal have to be there as long as the program is there? In other words, if everybody leaves at 5:30, he or she can leave at 5:30. If they stay at 6, he or she has to stay at 6. Or can they just simply go whenever their time normally is?
The principal is not required to be there for the entire time of the program. As with the principal in any school, especially elementary, middle, they are available on call or have a designee available on call should a problem arise. So although a principal may not be there, if there is an issue that requires his or her attention, they are available or have a designee available to address that issue. Similar to the way if the buses leave our schools, our principals don't have to be there until the last bus gets home, but our principals are available via the phones that are provided by the district or have a designee to be available to answer questions or address issues.
We do not pay a principal additional salary for that.
We do not, sir.
Okay. With each one of these sites, parent must pick them up?
Yes, sir.
Can they walk?
No, well, it's one school that has... If the school has walkers that are already set in their at-home exit dismissal procedures, walkers can walk. However, in most cases, the parents do pick them up due to the time of day, and we have them to sign out of the program. Every child, when leaving, has to have someone to sign them out.
How much of it is a problem if we have students that are supposed to be picked up at a certain time and no one picks them up, and they have to wait till 6:15, 6:30, 7 o'clock, whatever?
We have
How do we treat that or handle that?
The schools address it on an individual basis. They do have in the handbook guidelines for additional fees that may be incurred to help cover the cost of the person who stays. We tend to handle it on a case-by-case basis and talking with the parent. Primarily, the important thing is making sure the child is safe. If a worker is there at 6:30 and a parent's not come to pick that child up, our primary concern is has something happened, and we want to go into the mode of just really problem solving. But it's not been a huge issue at schools in dealing with that. They address that as they do with kids getting picked up late from the regular school day. Our principals are involved, and they help to provide support for the parents and let them know what time the students need to be picked up.
The program, how does the program at each school determined? I understand we've got a variety, a multitude of different activities and so forth. I just don't want to say, hey, it's a child care facility. All you do is you give them a toy and say, play with this until it's time for your parent to pick it up. We have required components, and when the school submits the application to academics, we ask about the academic tutoring support. What is the structure? We have to ask about the physical exercise, because that's a part of it. The snacks. What locations will our students be in? How many activities will the students have during the year? If they're going to have a specific activity, we want to know the details around that. All of that is included in the application. And if there are questions about whether or not this program is going to truly be an extended day program that meets our requirements, as is with, one of ours most recently, Mrs. Dean goes out and meets with that principal, meets with the team, and the program is not approved until we are certain that it will be an extended day program that meets the requirements that we've set forward. Okay, if we've got these particular programs at each site,
yes, sir,
and there are different types of programs, how often do we get with a parent of the child and sit down with the parent and say, this is what is taking place? How do we communicate to the parent of what the child did or is doing or has done, or what problems they are? I'm just trying to get a feel for if I've got my child there after school, I've got him there for a specific purpose. For example, he may be having a difficulty in a particular field. Maybe it's reading, whatever, or it could be something else. But I'm just trying to understand, if I'm the parent and I'm paying this money, and they can always ask the student, how'd you do today? And they say, I did fine. But if a parent really wants to know, do they have particular times when they meet with the parents and go through and express what's happening, what's taking place, strengths, weaknesses, whatever?
No, go ahead. First of all programs are required to have a parent handbook that's given out at the beginning of the year. The parents sign that gives the schedule of what the child should experience each day. Obviously, they're different. On Fridays, sometimes they'll alter that schedule, but so parents should know what is happening each day, when they go to homework, when they have snack, when they go to activity. If there are issues with the student in EDP, the director has a process that they let the parent know. Every day the parent has to come in and sign the child out, and the director or assistant director or co-directors there, and there are conversations every day with parents. Parents talking to the director about needs, or the director talking to the parent about needs.
And Mr. Seibert, we'll get you that job description. I think you would want to ask for a job description. That was in our extended day handbook. I think it's in a format Ms. Dean's not used to seeing from our usual job descriptions, because we want it to be available for all principals to be able to see when they're opening up a program. So we'll send the one to you that the principals use when they hire those directors in the after-school programs and the EDP programs.
Okay, if we have an after-school program, we haven't thought about anything for a high school level. We only feel like we need to go through the middle school.
As Dr. Royster mentioned earlier, we do have some of these for high schools that high schools pay for kids when they need extra tutoring and different things. Typically, at your high school level, though, you don't have the child care issues that you would have at an elementary and middle school level of kids being alone by themselves. So the independence at the high school the demand would not be as high at the high school level for quote unquote kids to be supervised after school.
We have any idea how many high school students participated last year?
In those after-school programs at the high schools?
I'm just wondering if we got a number of high school students or they're just a few.
Are you talking about working in the EDP programs? The ones?
Yes, I am. I'm talking about we got a worker A paying him $9.15, and he's a high school student.
Yeah, so we'd have to pull that information from HR for you because those workers are hired all the time as people come and go. So we'd have to pull the stats for you for the last year.
That's really not significant for me. I was just kind of wondering, the high school students, if we have a number of students, because it is a good thing for a high school student to be able to come and associate with elementary students, because sometimes there's a big bond there that will do a lot better for the students that are in there than if I've got an adult.
Sure.
But it's got to be and I like the idea that we don't let a high school student be alone.
Right.
With
Yes,
anyone
sir.
in that regard.
Yes, sir.
It's a very interesting program, and I have learned a great deal about it today, because I really was not aware that we were going this far. $3 million, is that what parents pay into this program? We look at that sheet on there that, each year it goes up.
Oh, yes, sir.
And I was just wondering.
Which one was that? The next one there.
Yes.
This slide here you're referring to,
Yes.
the revenue, yes, sir, net revenue.
So this is what, $3 million, this is from people paying into these 49 schools?
Correct.
Okay.
And for
Amazing.
reference, Mr. Sudduth, the EDP director's job is on page 6 of our EDP handbook for the director's position.
Where can I get a copy of this handbook?
We can send it to you all.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
And I thank you for your time. I'm sorry for the interruption. That's all I.
I thought Mr. Sudduth was going to get to my question. On this slide here with the $3 million, is that the gross or is that net?
That is the net. After schools are not able to use the funds for instruction until all of the invoices for the prior year have cleared through finance, all of the payroll has cleared. So that is after all bills are paid, that is how much they have to put toward instructional use.
Okay, so do parents pay in more than the $3 million? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is a cost to run the program, and all of those costs have to be taken into account before we can extend or expend any of the funds. So the schools will not have access. If a school starts this year, such as the ones we mentioned, they would not have access to any funds until after the end of the fiscal year is closed out in July. Then they would note what is that net revenue for instructional use.
So this is profit. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
This
sir.
is profit.
Dr. Royster?
Okay, if you're working on it.
Yes, sir. If you want to know the gross, we can send you a graph with the gross side by side. The gross revenue, total revenue.
Okay. Do you have an estimate of what the gross would be? Is there?
Robin, do you know without guessing?
It's a little over, so that's sort of 50% of the gross. So we're saying that the parents are paying $6.9 million a year to send their kids to after school. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question that I forgot. That's a group. Looking at the criteria for the workers, and I looked at the high school workers, have we tapped into that cadet program?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I was
You
curious.
may also recognize Tara from work-based learning.
Okay then,
So
all right,
she-
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I also forgot a question that I had on here. What are the schools that are funded by the private donors? I know you said it's 4.
A.J. Wittenberg has Innovate that's funded by a private donor, and that has been in place for a number of years. I think on my other private funding, Sterling, I think it was. Sterling has their program Woke that is funded by a private donor, and I have my whole list here because I knew somebody would ask. We also have at League Academy, a tutoring program that is funded for homework help, academic assistance. They have young writers, and that is funded at League Academy by a private donor. And J.L. Mann receives some support as well from a private donor to support their program.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Wells?
Thanks. Just want to make sure I understand the payment piece as Mr. Lewis was describing it, because he obviously he knows a lot more about kind of how these things are working. But we got data from the superintendent regarding some questions we asked as follow-up, and when I was looking at the retention rate for K-5 and first grade, over 2/3 of the students in K-5 and first grade that are retained are on free lunch. And so, for me, if we want to, I get that these programs, I think that the reason they've been so popular for principals to implement and put in place, because they are trouble, but the reason they've been popular is because it does allow the opportunity for the local site to generate some revenue so that they can enhance their special programs. So I understand that, but I guess in the bigger picture of providing services that can increase a student's chances at being successful as a student, why wouldn't we have in place a sliding scale or a way to just provide scholarship? I think some PTAs in some schools probably do that, but broader across the whole program, why wouldn't we institute something where every program has a way to allow students on free lunch to be subsidized in a way that makes sense for them then to take part in this program, particularly when you look at, again, that retention rate issue, this definite correlation between their own free lunch and they're the ones getting retained.
Sure. So what I would say is we certainly can look at that, but the problem has been not all the programs, when you kind of look across the board, there's certainly different levels of profit, that they're making in there. And so when you're looking at reducing a rate, in some cases, some of those programs may not be able to operate anymore. At least some of the bottom, when we looked at it last year, some of the bottom, if they lost even a couple of kids, or a few kids, they would be back into the red where they would not be able to operate a program at all. So across the board, necessarily that wouldn't work. It certainly could work in some schools that make a significant amount of profit, but you also then have to look at the level of staff that you're hiring at a higher rate, because the ones you would want to hire, kindergarten, first grade doesn't really have homework. So the level of staff you would really need to hire to work with those intensive kids would come at a much higher cost than a lot of the workers we would be hiring for homework assistance or tutoring for kids that just need homework assistance. Of course, now that is outside of, I don't know that we listed it by school, but we certainly can. We have the spreadsheet for it here of what every school does offer during the year for the kids that are in need of academic support. I don't think we flashed that up there, but we have the spreadsheet for you on that.
Okay.
Because the other thing I would say, and I don't know, we mentioned this earlier, 3 years ago, I think when we did the survey or the poll, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, one of the issues, even with as we would know with the Title I schools and the free reduced lunch students, a lot of those kids, the problem is certainly paying the fees, but the bigger problem a lot of times is transportation. The kids don't have the ability to get to school. That's really the issue why we run those programs during the school year in Title I schools. We provide the transportation for them because in many cases they can't get to and from the school, even if we were to offer an opportunity for free, because they don't have the transportation to do so.
And when you consider the age of the students, K1 and 2, and the amount of focused intervention time that they're getting, one of the most powerful pieces of impact you can have is that quality core instruction during the day. With a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old staying until 5:30, 6 o'clock doing, intensive intervention is a challenge. We want to be sure that the instruction is aligned. So during the day, most of our schools, all of our schools, through their literacy plan, have submitted a way that they're helping to support the